All right,
There we
we're
go.
we're live now. We're
Yeah.
talking. Hey, folks. Hey, welcome to the TD report today. My man Jody Coleman out there in the Midwest. We rolling today. What's up, Jody? Happy Easter. Happy Easter Monday. All that good stuff. What's up with you?
Hey man, happy Easter, man. I hope you had a good time with the family, man, because that's what it's all about at this point, man. And at this point, man, we family. So, I want to make sure you good, man. The team is good. Cody, Dev, man, Dave, man. Make sure everybody good, man, because we're ready to launch this draft, man. The draft is in 3 weeks, and we gotta get ready and get the people ready. I've been studying this stuff, Tony, man. I've been at the combine, man. I've been at the Senior Bowl, man. I've seen these kids up close and personal, man. So I'm ready to see. I know we that's not the topic right now, but we got to get the people ready for this NFL draft.
Oh well, hey man, the NFL draft is always the topic. Have you heard the word that 6 teams have contacted Arizona about moving up to number 3? What were the 6 teams that you heard of?
I know a lot of teams when they get up there because of the premier pass rushing, and they thinking about the Will Anderson Jr. But some teams are really interested in Anthony Richardson and Will Levis because they're looking more and more as the draft is getting closer. Anthony Richardson is looking more and more and more appealing to these organizations as being a franchise guy. He has all the natural ability of Josh Allen. Make no mistake, the kid can throw the ball. We understand his stats. He only had 17 touchdown passes. Um, he didn't really, he made some questionable decisions in some games, but he played big against Tennessee. If you want to see some good tape on Anthony Richardson, go back and watch the Tennessee game. They didn't win that game, but he threw for over 400 yards against one of the top tier teams in the country. If people don't remember, go watch some tape on him against Tennessee. I just really truly believe that Anthony Richardson is a franchise guy, but I want everybody to understand he's not going to come in right away and be what y'all. He's not going to come in and be Patrick Mahomes in the first year. You got to get that kid a little bit of time. So, I can see a lot of teams really interested. Arizona don't need a quarterback. They don't. Of course, they got Kyler Murray. They spend a lot of money with Kyler Murray. We got to see Kyler Murray got to come off an injury, and he really got to bounce back and go back to the form that he was before that. So I can see a lot of teams. It's a lot of teams that's low key trying to do it. They trying to get ahead of the Indianapolis Colts because Indianapolis Colts is really interested in Anthony Richardson or Will Levis.
Over the last 10 years, I don't recall any rookie quarterback coming in being that guy. Um, Dak Prescott was, RG3
Joe
was,
Joe
uh,
Burrow,
Joe Burrow,
Andrew
Herbert,
Luck.
Herbert, Luck. But I mean, it ain't been like we've had, 25. I mean, we may have 5 who've been that guy from snap one.
Um,
And went through the whole season. I mean, Joe Burrow didn't last the whole season. RG3 did until the playoffs. I mean, he lasted the
right.
entire season. Dak Prescott did.
Luck
Um,
did. Luck he
Luck
lasted
did.
over this.
We're talking about from day one, snap one. Herbert didn't even get snap one. He wasn't started until game 2, I believe. Game
Yeah,
2
because
or
of
game 3. Um, we're talking about snap one, beginning of the season. Who were the starters?
Russell Wilson, he did. Remember Russell Wilson? He
Russell
he was
Wilson
able to
did.
come in.
Russell
Baker
Wilson did.
Mayfield. Baker Mayfield didn't come snap one, but Baker Mayfield, when he did get in game 3, got the
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns their first win against the Jets. He came in and he was pretty solid in his rookie campaign. People forget Baker Mayfield threw 27 touchdowns in his rookie campaign. You know, um, I'm not just saying that because he was for the Browns, but I mean, he wasn't all bad for the Browns. You know what I'm saying? But with the Anthony Richardson, one of the teams that out of the 6, I believe, is Vegas. Vegas is really, really interested in Anthony Richardson coming up and getting him. Because I did a mock draft. I had him getting Will Levens at that 7 spot. But I truly believe if they don't get, I think they more targeting Anthony Richardson. Of course, they're not going to get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. So if they get, I don't think they're really as sold on Will Levis as I thought they were earlier. I think they're more sold on Anthony Richardson. So I think
Hmm.
if they don't move up in the draft and they don't make a deal with Arizona, I don't think they're going to go Will Levis with that pick at 7. I think they're going to go and address maybe a cornerback. I'm seeing them either the Joey Porter Jr. if he's available. If he doesn't go to
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, I'm looking at Christian Gonzalez if he's available. A kid out of Oregon at cornerback. They want to address that cornerback position, but Vegas have not been doing very well in their first round picks. None of their first round picks are on their roster. None of their first round picks in the last 4 to 5 years are on their active roster as of right now. So I know they picked up when they had Mike Maylock and they had John Gruden as head coach. They didn't really do a great job in drafting. So that's why I was really surprised how well they have done and made the playoffs last year. Not this year, but the last year they made the playoffs. It was really interesting to see because they don't really do well with their opening first or second round draft picks outside of Derek Carr.
What about Josh Jacobs? What was he?
Josh Jacobs was about 5 years ago. That was before the Maylock and John Gruden era. They were already there. Josh Jacobs actually did really well, but remember, they do well. They do better in later rounds with the Winfrows and the Max Crosby's guys they got in later rounds. They seem their department when it comes to later round picks. It seems like they do better than it is with their first round picks. Their first round picks, none of them are on. If you go look back, none of those guys are on the roster. Ruggs is, of course, not on the roster. Leatherworth is not on the roster. The one kid that they got from that people don't even remember from Clemson. Remember they took him with the 4th pick after trading Khalil Mack
Yeah,
for
the
those
big
first round
lineman.
picks. The cornerback they got out of Ohio State, he's not on the roster. He had some off the field issues. So I just want Vegas, their draft department at the early part of the draft, to do some more research on some of these guys because y'all wasting picks, and the surprising thing is they're still really have a really good roster of guys. So I guess they do better in free agency than they do with the early part of the draft process.
Okay, folks, we're talking to our scout, our researcher, our guy out in the Midwest, out in big Dayton, Ohio. We're talking to our man Jody Coleman. He's breaking the draft down for us. He's excellent at this and looking at these teams and seeing what they need and how they need to go about doing things. I told people now my first pick before all this went down. I told people after watching the playoff, my first pick is C.J. Stroud.
Right.
What C.J. Stroud did to Georgia, a team full of first and second round and NFL players on the team, what he did that game, and they were just showing it just now in NFL. They were just showing and breaking the film down. I didn't need to break down. I watched the game.
Right.
I watched him go through his progressions. I watched him do everything that an NFL quarterback needs to do. I watched him change plays. I watched him get his team in better positions. I watched ball placement. I watched his eyes down the field. I watched him running when he needed to run and not running just because it's there. I mean, the guy has everything. He has the size. I think Carolina, right now, from what they have, I think Carolina will take C.J. Stroud with the first pick. And it's amazing that he still had another year left in school. I mean, the guy was just outstanding coming out of Ohio State. Now, this is no knock on Bryce Young because whoever gets Bryce Young, they're going to get the same type of person. He's just a little smaller. Bryce Young, is methodical with his. I think Bryce Young is going to be an excellent pro. I think what he brings to the table, that if he's at the Texans, will help them build to what they want to do is compete in that division. Welcome, Dave. My
That's
man.
my
What's up,
guy.
everybody?
We got
What's
our
going on,
now.
Dave? How you feeling, man?
Feel great, man. Talking NFL quarterbacking. We love that. Listen, let me jump in real quick and run something by you guys. How much did C.J. Stroud help himself in the playoff last year in terms of elevating himself in the eyes of not just people like you, Tony, like you, Jody, like our own Devin, Mason, that watch quarterbacking? How much did he help himself?
You know, Tony was just alluding to that, and Tony has been very high, even with me being a Midwest Ohio State guy. You know, I remember a year ago when Ohio State lost to Oregon, and people wrote that kid off like he couldn't play football, but not realizing he had a shoulder injury that he played through, which showed me a lot of character, great character ish, because he never put it on the injury. He never blamed his teammates, and he played through that Oregon game, and they like, oh, this kid. I mean, in the Midwest, guys, people were, oh, he need to be benched. We need to go with another quarterback. I'm like, are y'all serious? He threw for over 400 yards in that game. We just end up losing that game to Oregon. Hats off to Oregon for having an outstanding game plan. So I've been a big CJ Stroud fan since he's been the starter at Ohio State. Tony's seen it, and Tony watches a lot of football, and he's seen it. I mean, the eye test, he passed the eye test, Dave. I mean, this kid, I was sold on him before the Georgia game. I think Tony was sold on him. I think that was just a stint after the Georgia game. Tony always say how great he climbs the pocket. People don't understand how important it is for quarterbacks to climb. The best person I ever seen climb the pocket in my lifetime of 40 years of watching football was Dan Marino. Dan Marino that's the type that's the type of footwork he has climbing the pocket, in my opinion. Able to get the ball downfield, able to keep his eyes downfield. CJ Stroud his vision on the field is something that I think is making him the #1 pick. Tony, you might agree with that.
I agree. So that we understand, guys, when they say climb in the pocket, it means once you get to the back of your drop, you're looking, going through your progressions, going through, looking, climbing, letting the rush get paid. As you see, sometimes they use a broom and they show the guys like this, doing this,
swing at
going
you
through, and they just moving up, and getting their footwork, if that's footwork, and getting yourself planted to be able to make that throw down the field. Which listen, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, this is actually the first year that whichever one goes one, you just can't say, oh, well, they made a mistake. No, I think it's on preference. Seeing that coach, right, likes taller quarterbacks, that is the reason why I give the edge to Stroud, because when they pulled up his thing, he's always just gone after taller quarterbacks. That's what he loves. I mean, everybody has everybody has something that they love, and that's what Reich loves. And I think
Bryce measures out at what, Tony? About 5'10" and 3/4, something like that.
Yeah.
And what is CJ at? About like 6'2"?
6'2.5" quarters. When they at the combine, he was very close to 6'3".
6'2.5" in stocking feet.
Right.
6'2.5".
Yeah. That's without shoes on. So
that's without shoes. So hey, I'm not a workout warrior. I don't believe necessarily in just looking at the measurables at the workouts, but you do have to look at something that's important, TK, as well as you, Jody. These edge rushers now, where you have to get that ball out to those numbers. These edge rushers, they are measuring out from shoulder to fingertips. They've got that athletic ability. These guys, remember back in the day, Dwight Freeney? Remember that guy? The guy was a freak.
Remember that guy. That boy
just
should be Hall of Fame. Very.
Jonathan Ogden used to talk about having to block that guy, and he was getting older when Freeney was coming into his own. He's like, that's one of the toughest guys to block. He's not going to run you over. He's just so quick. These edge rushers now, guys, have a combination of all of that and that size. You see what I'm saying? As a quarterback, getting the football out, Tony, and we talk about this in college basketball versus pro. In college, you just have to get the basketball to go in the bucket. That's what you're trying to do. In the NBA, you just got to get the shot off because the defenses are so good. Same thing in the NFL. In the NCAA, you're trying to get that pass completed. In the NFL, you're trying to get the pass off. We'll worry about it in the air. You got to get the pass off.
Hey, Jody, the typical fan can understand. Here's why the quarterback position is so important. You pay your quarterback to how should I say? You pay him to erase all the mistakes that you do everywhere else. So the quarterback should be called the Wolf, or your man that came in. What was the movie?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp
Harvey
Fiction.
Keitel, the Wolf.
Harvey Keitel. Because all the mistakes that they made, you pay your quarterback to do. Here's how I know I'm right. We're not talking about the ugliest defensive performance in the Super Bowl that I've ever seen by a winning team with Kansas City. We're not talking about the 35 points they gave up, and Jalen Hurts had over 300 yards passing and almost 90 yards rushing in one damn Super Bowl. We're not talking about that.
And lost.
You know what we're talking about? We're talking about Patrick Mahomes' performance and how Kansas City won. Now, if Kansas City lose that game, now we're talking about, well, Kansas City's defense got old. Well, they should have never got rid of Tyreek. They shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have done that. Why? Because the quarterback, and how I know I'm right, because the two biggest plays in that game was Mahomes making it on the ground. The first run that he had on 3rd and 15 that he made and got them their first touchdown early to keep the game close. And then the last drive when the game was tied, when he ran 28 yards right up the damn field against one of the best defenses.
On a bum ankle.
That play.
On a bum ankle.
He made it on a bum ankle. That's why you pay the quarterback. So let's get through this, guys, so we can stop this. 85 Bears, 2,000 Ravens, and you may be able to throw the 14 Seattle Seahawks in there. Outside of that, folks, if you're looking for your defense to carry your team and just hope you have an average offense, those days are gone because the rules are set up against you. You have to score. You have to score, which means your quarterback has to be that guy and get that team done.
You know what, Tony? I want to add the Denver Broncos to 15 a year after that when Peyton Manning basically didn't play half that season's last year.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
You know, he couldn't throw the ball past 10 yards, honestly.
No.
In that defense, Von Miller and them cornerback combination of Chris, what's the kid? 25, Chris Harris Jr.
Chris Harris and them.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal year, and I think they really shut teams down. But going back to what Tony said, see, this is the issue that I have, and I don't want to bring the Lamar Jackson situation up, but I am. Lamar Jackson, when he took the helm at Baltimore was 3-6 or something like that, and they were going nowhere. Everybody was about to get fired in that organization. He came in and erased so much deficiency. And this is what I don't think Lamar Jackson get enough credit for. Lamar Jackson remember he lost his first playoff games against, at the time, it was San Diego Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't became the LA Chargers yet.
Anthony Lynn was coach.
Anthony Lynn, yeah, he was the coach. You know what? How he lost that game is because that whole defense, they changed that whole dynamic of their defense and put 4 safeties on the field. They took the DNs out the game. And they went. Everybody on that field was fast. They put, I want to say they ran like a dime concept, and with one linebacker. And all they changed the whole concept because what Lamar Jackson brought to the table. Name another quarterback that you had to change your whole defense to defend. Tell me a quarterback. I love Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. You don't have to change your whole defensive concept for one player.
Well, Jody, he was a rookie, and
he was a rookie.
What nobody talks about is Derrick Henry had 200 yards rushing that game and like 2-3 touchdowns. That's what nobody talks about.
I take that game with a grain. Say this.
I'm talking
the Tennessee.
You talking about the first Chargers game when
I take that Chargers game with a grain of salt because he was a rookie. I do.
When it was nice and hot there, the Chargers were simply a better team. But as a rookie who did not start that year, who came in and he came in with none of those weapons were there because of him. He came in, saved the season. He went 7-1 that season, ended up 7-2 because he lost the playoff game. He saved them, but here's what the Raven fans don't remember. They had missed the playoffs 3 straight years, and it was going on number 4. If he doesn't come in and save the season, 4 straight years of missing the playoffs, they were worse than your Browns coming into that.
The Browns actually almost had a 500 record during that span.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I mean, Dave,
it The Ravens were stuck in neutral. The Ravens were stuck in neutral up to that point, and Lamar Jackson changed everything.
That's why you pay him.
That's why you pay Lamar Jackson whatever he's asking for. And I'm hearing all these delusional fans and delusional NFL analysts saying not to pay this guy. Like I said, everybody complain about Deshaun Watson. Well, he doesn't deserve guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson erases so many mistakes. I was just talking off air to Tony about the Browns. If you look at one touchdown or less scores, Cleveland were like 2-7. You flip that around, Cleveland has the best record in the AFC. If we had a quarterback that does not make those mistakes, that are able to extend drives, that's what you pay Deshaun Watson for. You pay Deshaun Watson, you pay the Lamar Jackson, you pay the Aaron Rodgers of the world. You pay those quarterbacks, you pay those Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. If I say his name correctly, sorry if I butchered it, but I'm about to get hyped because you pay those quarterbacks, Dave, you pay them whatever they asking for because they extend drives. They give your defense that much more time on the bench to rest. What was, I forget what coach said it. Please, Dave, tell me, or Tony, what was the coach said that you had to earn the right to rush the quarterback? What coach said that?
Dev would know. You got me on
it.
Yeah,
it wasn't Bill Belichick.
Well, they said I forget who it was. They said you have to earn the right to rush the quarterback. What that means is you have to get up in games because you can't rush the quarterback unless you're up in games.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
Those quarterbacks give you the opportunity for you to have earned the right to rush the passer. If you look how Kansas City's team is constructed, it's with edge pass rushers, guys that can pin their ears back. You just talked about Dwight Freeney. Guess what? Peyton Manning gave them they earned the right to rush the quarterback because Peyton Manning always had you up 14 to 17 points.
Yep. I like it. It's the analogies that you guys are giving so similar to even something like a sport that I love, like baseball. If you're up in the count and you're the pitcher, you're getting this fastball, baby. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm up a few runs, I'm throwing my best pitch. If it's a fastball, if it's a curve, if it's a slider, and you can't hit it, that's what you're going to get. And I see exactly what you're saying. You guys making such great analogies right now. You did bring up the Lamar Jackson situation. One of the biggest things that's been going on this offseason in the NFL is the talk around Lamar Jackson, what's going to happen, and so on and so forth. News coming in, I think it was about 11 o'clock this morning about the Odell Beckham signing coming here to Baltimore. I'm mixed on this one. Why are you giving Lamar Jackson $18 million and you won't pay what it takes to have the quarterback to get him the football? To me, these two things don't make sense. Okay, if you're going to bring in a Lamar Jackson, if you're going to bring in an Odell Beckham and say, "Hey, take the top off of my coverages for me," that's what you bring him in for. Run a few shallow crosses, but you're here to draw the safety, to move that safety over to help my quarterback. Okay, that's great. Why are you paying him that much money?
3 years
doesn't make sense.
3 years too late. You wanted I wanted the 2020 OBJ. I mean, if you would have had him then,
you'd be in the Super Bowl.
You probably have
in the Super Bowl, Tony.
You have a legitimate shot because
3 years ago you're in the Super Bowl.
The Ravens, what they do well is they do play really good defense, and with Lamar Jackson slowing the game down, making it less possessions, keeping your defense off the field, they're more fresh towards the end of the game. The Ravens, I don't know that thinking. I think that they think that Lamar sees the Nelson Aguilar, he sees the OBJ. Maybe he may come back and do it. But I think Lamar's going to go to the wall with this one. I think he's going to go and say, okay, I'll sign it, but I'm not playing under 32. And if I'm Lamar, if I were advising Lamar right now, I would not touch that field without a contract. I'm not playing. I could not play for less than what Danny Dimes is making this year. Danny Dollars is his new name. If there's no way in hell am I stepping on a football field making less than Danny Dollars, and I'm Lamar Jackson.
Hold on.
Absolutely not.
Tony, Dave, what time is it? You know what time it is?
Yeah,
It's time for me to go off. I'm about to go off. I'm about to rant. You're going to bring a 30-year-old injury-prone Odell Beckham into Baltimore as if that's going to be the Band-Aid that's going to sever this broken leg that y'all have in Baltimore. First and foremost, OBJ is not the old OBJ. I hate to say it, when receivers lose that step, unless he becomes a possession wide receiver that he was, really, let's be honest, he was a possession wide receiver when he went to the Rams.
He was.
They need more. He's not the top off the defensive type of guy anymore. You did not bring, you know what y'all did in Baltimore? Y'all are not slick. Y'all trying to save face to make it look as if y'all are really tooling Lamar Jackson with what he needs. No, y'all not. Y'all when they got a 31, he will be 31 by the time the season starts, Odell Beckham, off of 2 major injuries where he sat out a whole complete season. You bring in Nelson Aguilar just 2 years ago, led the NFL in drops. He led the NFL in drops when he played with the Eagles. That's why the Eagles dropped him. He goes to New England. He wasn't even the number 1 in New England. He was the number 3 option in New England. So you're going to bring him to the Baltimore Ravens like he's going to save the day. You don't really address the backup running back position because J.K. Dobbs, I love him. He's a kid from Ohio State, but he hasn't finished the season since he's been in the league. He hasn't finished the season. You don't go get any offensive line help. But y'all sitting up here want to pay OBJ. Y'all want, you know that Darius Slade said that they offer him a lot of money to come play defensive back when that's not y'all issue. Y'all got Humphreys, which y'all paid a lot of money to. You went and paid Roquan Smith all this money. So you telling me I'm going to go get OBJ and everything is going to be better in Baltimore? Absolutely not. Baltimore.
It's not going to help. Yeah.
Listen, get up out of here, Baltimore, with all that. We too smart. We cover this, and y'all ain't slick. And I know what y'all doing. And y'all trying to make it look like DeMar is the bad guy. Well, we went and got all these weapons for you. No, y'all doing that stuff because y'all know y'all did him dead wrong with that, not even an actual franchise tag. Y'all didn't even give me the maximum amount. No, Lamar Jackson, walk. Go to whatever team is offering you and come back and make Baltimore pay.
I think he needs to play this. I think he needs to play this season.
No, I would not play, Dave.
I would not step on the field if I'm Lamar
I think that's
Jackson.
a mistake. I think it's a mistake. And I'm not saying it because I don't believe in the guy. I'm not saying it because I don't believe in the guy.
I'm not stepping on the field.
I just think sitting out a season when you are in your prime, okay, it really damages you. I just believe that.
It ain't damage Watson.
Well,
right. He got it. It didn't damage when Dak Prescott got hurt. His value went up when he got hurt.
Oh yeah, because Dallas was. I mean, let's be honest. Dallas was not typically what they call in the appraisal business. They were not typically motivated. They had to sign Dak Prescott because if they didn't, that's a public relations nightmare. If you don't sign him, they had to sign him. There was no choice.
You just said what Baltimore needs to do. They need to pay Lamar Jackson the same way that Dallas needed to pay Dak Prescott. Okay, let me ask you this, Dave. Who are you going to bring to replace Lamar Jackson?
There is no replacement for Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
That's the answer.
We act like franchise quarterbacks grow on trees. We know he's a top 5, top 10 quarterback when he's on the field. I don't give a doggone. So you're going to go try to draft or you're going to try Huntley? Huntley couldn't score more than 17 freaking points at any point of the game.
Let's not diss Huntley too much. He did the best he could do. That's all he could do.
Yes, he's a backup, and he's a backup for a reason. That's what
correct.
Tony, they call them backups. Because backups are not supposed to be able to play full seasons.
No, sir.
He's a backup, Dave. So you got Lamar Jackson, you got this guy, you disrespecting him, and I'm not even going to bring up any other quarterback in their deals because I'm done with that. Everybody know about that. Lamar Jackson is a franchise quarterback. You're not going to tell me a guy that's 27 years old, 26 years old, that has won MVPs and been to Pro Bowls and won at least one playoff game. The disrespect Baltimore and the rest of the league is disrespecting him as well. I'm not buying this, man.
Oh, it's bad.
And
I'm
what is hurting, this is what's gonna happen. I think Baltimore gonna realize what we're saying. They're gonna pay, but guess what? You losing all this valuable time with Lamar
mhm.
Jackson to be with his receivers.
Yeah. I would say this, guys. If you had asked me 2 years ago, now 2 years ago, Josh Allen signed his deal. He signed his mega deal. That was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 years ago. If you had told me that Lamar Jackson would not have his deal done and Daniel Jones would have his deal done, you would already start hearing about Joe Burrow's deal. They're making progress. We've heard about Herbert's deal in Los Angeles about to get done for the Chargers. If you had told me that Lamar Jackson would be the back of that line, I would have told you were crazy. 2 years ago.
Dave, not only that, during this span, Russell Wilson had 2 deals done. Aaron Rodgers has had 2 deals done. Aaron Rodgers
And Russell Wilson's married to Ciara. Life is good if you Russell Wilson,
Hey,
baby.
he's very good. I'm a little jealous. Aaron Rodgers can't beat Jimmy G. And during that span, Jimmy G has beat Aaron Rodgers twice in the playoffs during that span. Put that in
And Dak
perspective, y'all.
Prescott. And Dak Prescott twice.
Yeah, put that in
Once.
perspective.
He beat Dak once. The
Oh,
other
that's
I'm
my
rookie-
bad. Well, Tony,
No,
he would have beat him last year too, babe.
No.
Hey,
He would have
I'm-
got y'all last year.
I'm just saying this, Dave, from a perspective of you paying Aaron Rodgers $50 million plus per season, and he's lost to Jimmy G twice, and you don't want to pay Lamar Jackson, and he's not even asked for Aaron Rodgers numbers. You're not going to pay a quarterback that's lost to Jimmy G, who has been shipped off, been dang near cut from the 49, then traded,
Yep.
and he's probably going to be maybe a backup in Vegas because they're going to probably go after a quarterback at some point. So you're telling me a quarterback that has lost twice, once at home, you couldn't even put up more than 10 points at home, and Lamar Jackson has not been signed, or you really disrespecting him and going to give him not even the actual franchise tag that he should have gotten, where he's taking at least 45 million? Something is not right. Something is sour. Something is sour, y'all.
You don't hear it a lot in the NFL. You hear this more in the Major League Baseball with their owners. This smells like collusion to me. It just does. It sounds to me like they all sat around in a room, not at the owners' meetings, but in someone's hotel room after the actual meetings got done. They went upstairs and they all basically said, hey, listen, we're going to hold the line on Lamar Jackson, where nobody in this room is offering him a deal.
But then they come up with stupid narratives talking about he can't play in any other offense. Lamar Jackson played in the pro offense in college. So when all of a sudden he can't play in any other offense, man, get out of here, man. Y'all stop that.
Listen, if Lamar Jackson could not read a defense, Bobby Petrino never recruits him to Louisville.
Right. He stays somewhere in Miami. Let me ask you this, y'all. Who is 2-0 against Tom Brady in the last 5 years? Name a quarterback that's 2-0 against Tom Brady. I'll name one. His name is Lamar Jackson.
It's pretty impressive.
He beat him in New England. In New England. He beat him in New England. In New England. Then he turns around and he beats him with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season.
Thrash.
As good as New England was during its heyday, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens had good shots against them. You know what I'm saying? They had their chances, and sometimes they get them. Sometimes they get them, but that's tough to say, Jody. That's good stuff right there. So have we talked about Have we talked about WNBA draft yet?
No.
Because something called the NIL is messing up the WNBA draft.
Let's talk about that. Just had the women's national championship last week, and the Louisiana State University Lady Tigers are basking in the afterglow. And why shouldn't they? It was a great championship. It was a great Final Four and a great final game with a lot of great performances from Caitlin Clark for Iowa on down the line to Angel Reese for the LSU Tigers. She's not going to go pro because it's not cost effective for her to do so at this point. The NIL money is what's keeping Angel Reese in college. So this begs the question, at the top levels of women's college basketball, the tippy top level, are we looking at a situation where LSU can outpay the WNBA? Because that's what we have. I think our expert, Devin POV Mason, shout out to you, and shout out to his podcast, Mason and Morales podcast. Definitely check that out. That's our boy. So $890,000, I think, is what her NIL value is right now. The WNBA's Supermax contract, that's their Supermax, 250 grand a season. 800,000, 240. You don't need a Harvard degree to figure that one out. You take the 800,000, and by the way, when you get into the WNBA, you're paying your own room and board. You have to get your own apartment, buy your own house, all of that stuff, right? If you're getting 800,000 and you get free room and board, you take the 800,000 and the free room and board.
You know what, Dave? If you and I don't want to. I mean, she made a mistake, and when you make mistakes, that's your fault. You have to own your mistakes. Brittany Griner would have never been in Russia if the WNBA would have paid what they should have been paid. She would have never had to go to Russia to make ends meet. You know, and during the offseason, a lot of these female athletes have to go overseas just to make the money because they can't really. I can say they can't survive, but they don't make the money that they should. And if you look at college basketball, especially for women, that crowd, they're always sold out. You go to WNBA games and you got 3 or 4 people in the stands.
Yeah, the WNBA, from a money-making standpoint, has to figure out to get these stadiums filled up. And they're looking at a situation where they're not like women's tennis. Women's tennis makes far more money than the WNBA does, the WTA tour, okay? Why would people pay to see women play? Why do people pay to see Venus and Serena play tennis, but they won't pay to see Candace Parker and Simone Augustus, Samika Catchings, Shamiqua Holdsclaw, Dawn Staley play women's basketball?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm a marketing major. I graduated with a marketing degree, and
that's why you're on the show.
The marketing for the WNBA, I'm gonna say it. Please forgive me, is completely horrible. It is. You just named a slew of outstanding WNBA players. Nobody knows them. Nobody know them because they're so wrapped up in trying to promote the sport. I hate to say it. If you look at the NBA, they promote their players. We know wherever LeBron James go, that's where the fans go. It's people that like the Lakers now because of LeBron James. It was people that like Cleveland because of LeBron James. It's people that like the Miami Heat because of LeBron James. You need to market the talent that you have on these teams, but they don't because they're trying to be what word I'm looking for. They're trying to be so well. We want the purity of the game. No, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to market it, and you need to market your players. I mean, you need to sell it. When you say the games, you need to sell these games. You need to sell these players, and you're not selling the players because you had Maya Moore where she's no longer playing basketball. She was dominant. You got
Tina
Bird.
Charles, Tina Charles, Teresa Witherspoon, Cindy Cooper. I mean, you've had generations. We've had generations of great WNBA players come through that nobody remembers. And the NBA is the WNBA's marketing arm. This is the NBA, okay, that's marketing these teams. They're able to market the men. They can't market the women. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Because they're not
Tony, can you make any sense of this?
I don't. I mean, I agree with Jody. You got to break it down and market the individual talent. But I do think the best thing that happened this year was the rivalry that they had between Caitlin and Reese. Almost reminiscent of Magic and Bird. Seeing that the two dynamics may end up bringing a league that, getting fans. Folks, I put something out because I'm kind of a historian, and we look at the NBA now to where it is, but we forget that the NBA championship was on tape delay all the way up until 1980. Okay, it was still tape delay. Now, we're unfortunately, but fortunately, that we're still a racist society, that it will take. I'm gonna go back and kind of give you so I can bring you where you are. The highest rated NCAA basketball championship ever was played March 26, 1979. It was Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. Why was that the highest rated? Because it was black versus white. Okay, that was the highest rated. So you may be like, oh, okay, maybe one. Okay, well, the highest rated women's championship game was Caitlin Clark, white, Angel Reese, black. Highest rated. Oh, well, maybe. Oh, well, no. Okay, well, let's just go to a stupid sport like boxing. The highest rated boxing match in the history was a lone boxer named Cooney versus Holmes. Why?
No way. Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you telling me that's the highest rated boxing match
That was
ever?
the highest rated. I
No,
think until
Tony.
Mayweather.
I gotta call you out on that.
Until
No way.
Mayweather and them just broke it, and only broke it because of technology.
Jerry
That was
Cooney?
the highest rated. And so think about it.
Oh
That
boy.
fight was probably not even in the top 25 as far as talent. For that to even be rated number one for 40 to 50 years, it tells you it was because he was white and he was black. So however you want to break it down, folks, if you think I'm using race, I'm not. I'm using reality. And the reality is we still live in that society where, you know, you will tune in and the same narratives, let's bring it back. The same narratives are the same stupid crap that we keep hearing. Lamar Jackson, these guys can't read a defense. They only got one offense they can play in. They can just, man, get the hell out of here with that crap. When I see that crap, I look at you and I lose respect for anybody who has that because it's stupid. You're going to tell me Lamar Jackson can only play in one offense. Really? So him, when I sat there in 2018 and watched his training camp and watched him throw for throw with, at the time, Joe Flacco had the biggest arm, throw for throw with Joe Flacco, and he was a rookie. That's telling me that this guy actually can throw the damn ball. But when you bring Roman in, and Greg Roman's offense is always heavy tight end, heavy running back, he didn't have the weapons to go downfield. He did what he had to do to win. You give Lamar Jackson what my man got in Buffalo, we won't be talking the same crap. And take the racism out of it. Black versus white sells, and they know it. And so, WNBA, you may have your key is next year when those two girls go in the draft.
And they come out of the draft.
You may get what you want.
So, go ahead, Jody.
I'm sorry, Dave. I want to add this before I forget it. Tony, you're absolutely correct because I'm going to throw another one in there for you. Remember one of the highest rated college football games, men's college football, was the Miami Hurricanes against Notre Dame, the Christians versus the Cons.
Yep.
Catholics versus convicts.
Catholic versus convicts.
Ratings on that game. And Tony,
it's a great
right,
T-shirt.
and if we alluding to Lamar Jackson not being playing another offense, he's considered a running quarterback, right? Let me give y'all a history lesson real quick. There's a guy named Randall Cunningham who won an MVP in Philadelphia and an MVP with the Minnesota Vikings. Go back and check. I think he was Offensive Player of the Year in 1990.
Should have won a Super Bowl.
He was MVP in '98. He played in two different offenses. And since if that's not good enough for you guys that's listening, it's a guy named Michael Vick. Michael Vick had better numbers with the Philadelphia Eagles than he had with the Atlanta Falcons, and he was considered a running quarterback.
The ultimate running quarterback.
It's because he had Andy Reid.
No, and because he also had Deshaun Jackson.
He had
He
Andy
also
Reid.
had Shady. He had weapons that he did not have when he was stuck in Atlanta. So that crap that you listen to, that tells me people follow those narratives. They actually don't know football and they stuck on bullshit narratives.
It's not just that, Tony. It's if you can look at what Philadelphia was when they had Donovan McNabb, when they moved on from McNabb, you end up with Mike Vick. Okay, great. I was thinking this is a dead end. This is what I was thinking. He was amazing.
Hold on, Dave. Hey, he didn't have Andy Reid. He had Chip Kelly.
Right. Well, he had Andy Reid at first, didn't he?
No, he had Chip Kelly.
Andy Reid was the first.
He was already gone.
No, he had Andy Reid. He had Andy Reid one of those 2 years because
the year that he was taking the lead because he didn't play. Remember, he didn't play immediately. When he took the lead by storm and he took the starting job, he had Chip Kelly, and that's when they was so explosive.
Was it Kevin Kolb? Was it Kevin Kolb?
Kevin Kolb, yeah.
Yeah, I think Kevin Kolb was the quarterback. You're right.
Mike Vick took over and had an unbelievable season where he ripped the lead up. That's when he threw that amazing pass to Deshaun Jackson when he scrambled, and we see how strong an arm that Michael Vick had. So I don't want to hear that Lamar Jackson can't play in another system because he's quote unquote. Y'all said he's a running quarterback, right? He's a running back that can throw. That's what y'all say to disrespect. When a guy led the NFL touchdown pass, I ain't never seen a running back lead the NFL touchdown passes.
Never. Yeah, and
Never.
and look, as we transition this back to the women's basketball piece to show you how crazy women's basketball has gotten. The number one recruit from 2022 is at Stanford. She is in the transfer portal, and the rumor is that what is her name? Lauren Betts of Stanford, number one recruit in the country in 2022, 6'7" center, wants to go to Iowa. That's the rumor that's out there. So these women's teams are starting to beef up and are starting to, much to the chagrin of University of Maryland fans, basketball fans, who has shed a lot of recruits. Okay, a lot of good recruits. Ashley Owusu was at Virginia Tech last year. She's going to be transferring. There's talk of her possibly ending up at LSU. There's talk of, obviously Angel Reese went from Maryland to LSU and swung them a national. Literally, she's the icing on the cake, or in the Reggie Jackson sense, the straw that stirs the drink. You bring her in and add her in with all that other stuff you have, and she pulls it all together and makes it a team, makes it, draws the offensive, defensive focus to her. This is what's been amazing about women's basketball. And I haven't been this excited about it since, I don't know, Cheryl Miller. I mean, I think this is great. I've been watching women's basketball since Cheryl Miller. Now, back in those days, you only saw women's college basketball for what? The Final Four?
Yeah, and the
you
McGee
weren't seeing
twins.
them during the season, right?
Yeah, and the McGee twins, and that's when your girl played, Mulkey.
Yep. Mulkey played back then. Coach Mulkey, she did.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the precursors. Dawn Staley watched Kim Mulkey play when she was a kid. That's how this game is working. And by the way, guys, that's beautiful for the sport. That's exactly what the women's game needs, but they haven't been able to pull that all together in the WNBA. The way the NCAA has marketed the women's basketball product through the networks has been superb. Excellent. That's how you're supposed to do it. Now, is women's college basketball at the point where they can take away the home games for the high seeds? They can't do it yet. The game hasn't gotten big enough yet to where they can play those first round games at neutral sites. So at Virginia Tech that gets a number one seed, where did you guys play your games, Tony, as number one seed? Huh?
Played in Blacksburg.
Played in Blacksburg. See, when I was in college, when UVA was starting to get good with Dawn Staley and them, we would always end up in the South Regional.
And you know who was in the South Regional?
Tennessee. We lost to Tennessee in the Sweet 16, I think, 3 years in a row. I think Dawn Staley's freshman year was the year we finally beat them in Knoxville to get to the Elite Eight. And I think we ended up playing against somebody like, I don't know. I think we ended up getting Stanford and got lit up, Auburn, something like that. But I would say this, guys, if you look at the situation that they're looking at for women's college basketball, I would hope that we can see more of these games end up off of campus. You've got to get these games off campus, but I don't think the crowds are going to be big enough to do these games at neutral sites. So until then, just keep it where they are, and then market it not just alongside the men's programs, alongside the men's tournament. I think they need to make it so that the men's and women's Final Four coincide similar to how it did this year, where the women's championship is going to be on the Sunday and the men's is always on Monday night. I like that kind of thing.
This year was perfect.
I like the way they do it. I don't like the 3 o'clock start time on the women's championship game. I don't like that.
They should have had a time. That should have been an 8 o'clock game.
That's a 7 o'clock game. I say run it at 7:30.
But they weren't going to run into the baseball with ESPN when the opening weekend. ESPN wasn't going to do that.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
but still, You see what me and Jody are talking about, though. 3 o'clock it's too early.
Yeah. People just getting out of church.
But
talk to me. Tell me.
You guys
talk to him, Jody.
You guys are on something. But here's what they're going to tell you. We did the championship game at 3 o'clock, and it was the highest one in the history of any championship game for women.
So just imagine if they would have did it at 7:30, 8 o'clock, because I didn't even realize the game was on.
If they run if they run that game, where's the women's Final Four this year?
It's going to be in Cleveland.
It's going to be in Cleveland.
That's
nice. You'll be there. It would be even more beautiful if they was playing the next year at the Superdome. LSU being as good as they are, LSU trying to get back.
I like how they did that.
Superdome.
I like how they did that this year, where it was Dallas and Houston. That only works out every now and then. I mean, let's say if there's another state who has maybe Florida,
Indiana,
or California who can do something like that. That was perfect, actually, because I had people that go from both. They drove from both of them to see.
I'm gonna tell you what. If Iowa ends up in that championship game again next year, and they're playing it in Cleveland, that place is gonna be packed with Hawkeye fans.
Hey,
you might see that they might have to shut the whole state of Iowa down. They will all be there. Trust me.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny. They had the college basketball championship and women's in Dallas and Houston because there wasn't no NBA playoffs going in there, so they might as well play it.
That's cold.
That's messed up, Joe. But that's the first time in like 40 years that none of them has made the playoff. But Jody, we can't talk from this area.
Sure can't.
Since 2005, this is
City
the first
of
time the entire DC was shut out of playoffs for 4 major sports.
We're terrible.
When you have a city with 4 major teams and nobody makes the playoffs, something is wrong.
Terrible.
I mean, Cleveland was like that for a while with the Browns, the Cavaliers,
the Cadavers.
The Indians / Guardians. They was trying to hold it down, but they couldn't hold it down.
Y'all didn't have a hockey team. Columbus was making the playoffs.
Yeah, but
they didn't have a Columbus back then. They didn't have a Columbus. They didn't have hockey back then.
When you got four,
when you got all 4 major sports,
and you missed all 4.
I get it. Ohio State carried the state of Ohio for a long time.
Tony, we didn't even make the playoffs in soccer. That's 5.
5. But
they didn't, and they have a new stadium.
And the best thing we got is the XFL, the Defenders.
That I ain't never seen on TV.
Marketing.
And they're good. They're good. They're decent.
It's all about marketing, man. They got it. Like, I really, not trying to be funny, is we need to do an overhaul. Only thing that I feel like is really doing major in marketing is football, NFL, and college football. Everybody else, even the NBA has slacked, in my opinion, in their marketing process because they don't want the individuals. What they say, they don't want the inmates controlling the asylum. I'm sorry, y'all already let that cat out the bag when y'all did this free agency stuff. When y'all let the free agency and guys kind of pick where they wanted to go, you lost control. You lost it. Now they're looking at the names on the back of the jersey, not the front of the jersey. And that's the NBA's problem.
The NBA's problem, in my opinion, this is my opinion. And great segue. See, sometimes when I'm hosting the show, Jody and Tony host it for me. Thank you. The problem with the NBA is this. Everyone talks about how great Michael Jordan was. He was the greatest player to ever play. You know what Michael Jordan also had? He had a great front office. Okay? Kobe Bryant, great basketball player, one of my all-time favorites. You know what he had? He had a great front office, great ownership that would put the team around him that he could win multiple championships. By the way, multiple lineups. Okay? He won a championship with Shaq. He won a championship without Shaq. You see what I'm saying? Mike won his championships all with Scotty. The only thing that changed was that third guy. Won 3 titles with Horace Grant, won a few more titles with Dennis Rodman. Is that right? Okay.
That's correct.
When nobody thought that you could win multiple championships with Dennis Rodman as your third best guy. And they brought him in there. Because remember, before Dennis Rodman ended up in Chicago, he was in
San Antonio, Dallas.
And it didn't work. You see what I'm saying? But they were able to make it work in Chicago. Why do you think that is? Good front office, good coaching. Okay.
Great coaching.
The problem with guys like the Damian Lillards and the Bradley Beals of the world, they don't have a good front office. where they were drafted. Their front office has been fumbling around and can't get things to work properly. That's why their teams don't make the playoffs consistently and make deep runs. So
Yep.
now we have this BS that the NBA has thrown out here. Sorry, Adam Silver. I know you went to Duke. I know you have a law degree. I know you're smart. But this play-in tournament that the NBA has is some hot garbage. Get that out of my face. That is absolutely the most ridiculous concept I have ever heard. This is terrible. Why don't you just what?
Do you mind if I say something? Listen, Dave.
Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. We already complained about the extent of the 82 games in the NBA. So you're telling me you play 82 freaking games with none of, first of all, I think it's only like five players last year that played in all 82 games. Only 5 players. So that means y'all not even taking every game serious. And then you do a playing game so you can go and pussyfoot all the way through the regular season and then get a playing game and then make your run. So you're diluting the regular season even more with this playing game. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I mean, look, the NBA did not used to have a lottery. Remember that? They didn't have one. They used to when David Stern and them guys in the league office before Stern became commissioner, they came up with that idea. Hey, let's do a fishbowl and reach in there and pull out an envelope.
Hey, let me, okay, fellas. Y'all sound like a bunch of old fogies.
What you talking about? You older than us.
Playing game.
It's terrible.
Here's the thing. It one way or another. Look, I like to play and stuff because I want to see them now hustle and hump and try to make up for the garbage that we saw all year.
Thank you.
And that's basically what you're trying to do. Basically, what you're doing is trying to clean up your house 20 minutes before mom coming over. Okay, that's what you're doing. Shit been terrible all year, bathroom nasty, this and that. Now you're trying to hustle before mom come over so you won't have to hear her mouth and see, I didn't raise you like that, son. That's basically what you're trying to do with that tournament. I feel you. Secondly, we need to get back to the rule change of you have to play a certain amount of games in order to be eligible. Because when you save up for all this stuff and you take your kid to the game and he's sitting over here talking about load management, the NBA is in a bad situation right now because in a couple of years, when some of these superstars are gone, what do they have? Everything has been on LeBron. LeBron can go away like that. What do they have that's going to draw you to the game? What is making you turn that channel on and say, man, I want to watch this playoff game? I mean, what are they doing? Because to me, they're not doing crap. I think it's a horrible product. I think it's the worst product out of the 4 major. The NBA is the worst product.
It's the fans' fault, Tony. I'm going to tell you, it's the fans' fault, Dave. You know why it's the fans' fault? Because when they start talking about who is the greatest player of all time, nobody give a dang on about your regular season. It's all about the playoffs. We have made it where you cannot be in the top 10 of best players of all time if you don't have championships or you're not great in the playoffs. So it's the fans' fault. It's the talking heads' fault. It's our
sports
fault.
Media. It's sports media.
It's our fault. So I look at it. If the playing game is going to make more sense, Dave, if you add more teams to the league. It's only 30 teams in the league and 20 teams make the playoffs. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the elite teams. You got all these teams making the playoffs that ain't even 500. We talking about teams making the playing game that's 10 games under 500.
And my Wizards couldn't even make that.
And you got teams completely tanking. They said the Mavericks completely tanked because they wanted a protective. They got a draft pick that was supposed to go to the Wizards, I believe, or something like that off of the prestigious trade. Yep. So they people like that's brilliant that you tank. Listen, back in the day when I watched coming up in the 80s and I don't care about all the young people talking about we was playing against plumbers and accountants. Stop it, because those guys, the John Stockton, the Karl Malones, the Michael Jordans, the Isaiah Thomases, those guys play every game of the season like it was their last. So I don't. They talking about. I had an argument with a young guy that's 28 years old. He said me, yeah, Larry Bird wasn't good. He played against a plumber. I said, there's some doggone athletic plumbers out there then. I said,
Well, Gerald Henderson was out there with a damn neck brace on.
because they didn't want to miss a
He
game.
was out there playing like this.
Yeah, he had the free throw line looking like like he got a car wreck.
You know I ain't lying.
Yeah, that was crazy. But if you want to make a game, you're gonna have to push the lead to about 40 teams to make it make sense to me. But when you got less amount of teams that don't make the playoff. It's teams that make the playoffs by accident, Dave.
Jody, if you listen, you also have to look at the talent that's spread across the league. If you take because you have to add teams to the league, you have to have an expansion draft. Right. So every team will have to take their bottom 5 to 7 players and unprotect them, where you can only protect 7 or 8 guys, right? So you're going to take the 9th best player off of every team, and that's what you're going to start another team with. Who's the 9th best player on the Washington Wizards? That's my number 1 pick. Hey, look, man, I'll tell you what. I'll give you this. I'm going to say something really trifling. Instead of taking the 9th best player on the Washington Wizards, let me go to Paul VI High School and let me take their best senior.
Right.
I'll start my team with that. I'll take my chances. He's 18. I'll take my chances. I think their best player is the kid that's going to Maryland next year. I'll take him. Yeah, I'd rather have him than the 9th best player on the Wizards right now. I'll take him.
Or make it where you can at least protect those guys, because you got a lot of guys that go to the G League. Like, it's a guy named Scoop Henderson that's going to be a stud.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah.
You got a guy named A-Man Thomason. He's going to be a stud. Both of these guys are playing in the G League. You should be able to, as a team, like a lower tier teams, and make those teams better. You should be able to, those should be your guys. You should be able to protect your rights on those guys. So as soon as they come up like a farm system, come to your organization like baseball do.
With a nickname like Scoop, you better be a damn good basketball player, bro. Scoop?
Oh,
you better be a baller, Joe. I'm sorry.
He is a dog.
Yeah, you better be legit. It's crazy out here, man. Just looking at what's going to happen to the NBA when LeBron and Steph Curry and them, and they hang it up. It's going to be this league. This is going to be Ja's league. This is Ja Morant's league after them guys go out.
It's going to be Wamba's league.
Okay, let's talk about this young man.
Wamba, the kid from France. He's 7'5". It's his league. I'm telling you, that dude shot a 3 and dunked his own ball back in from
he missed the 3, caught it, and dunked it.
It's his league, Tony. He's Kevin Durant on steroids.
Yeah, he's a bigger Kevin Durant, and the scary part about this guy to me is just his vast potential. Just okay, the closest thing that anybody that our age is going to remember that was anything remotely close to that would be something like a Ralph Sampson, and you let him play around the 3-point line. That's just kind of how his body type is. Now, he's not going to be as strong as Ralph was, not like that in the upper body, but the same type of physical abilities, and he has those. Now, the only reason we didn't see Ralph Sampson shoot was because they didn't let guys that big shoot basketballs.
No.
You just drove and dunked or whatever, stayed near the basket. But this dude, there have been teams that have supposed to have been tanking for 2 years to get in position to get this guy.
Hey, Dave, I think he's everything that's going to be advertised, man. The kid wears it like a size 23 shoe.
Can we do this? How can you keep him healthy? This is what scares me about guys like that. These guys that are ultra tall, 7'1", 7'2", 7'3", 7'4", they generally all have the same thing in common, like Yao, like Ralph Sampson, Bill Walton, ankle, knee, and foot problems.
Right.
Is really, really difficult for those guys. Jonathan Bender, another guy. I think he played with the Pacers. He was supposed to be one of the greatest youth players to ever come into the league.
He was.
And his physical abilities were sapped, because of injuries, And listen, when you look at the history of the NBA, I was just telling another guy this today. We were looking at some old tape of Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway. Yeah. And the question was, could those guys play right now? And I'm like, are you kidding? Hell yeah, they could play right now. And Grant Hill didn't have a jumper. Hey, Grant, I hope you're watching this. I knew him from back in the day. I ain't dissing. I'm just saying you didn't have a great jump shot, but if you played today, you wouldn't need one because you had everything else. He had everything else. He could do it all.
People don't like this. Grant Hill was LeBron James before LeBron James. He had that
better guard skills. He had better guard skills. He was a guard. He was incredible with a basketball in his hand. Just
look at his first 6 years in Detroit before he had that ankle injury. He was
he's incredible. Yeah. Look at Penny's Penny's college highlights at Memphis are the stuff of legend. He's making moves that kids don't do anymore, where he would do the 2-foot step back. That was incredible, unstoppable, but off the spin move, and he could hop back and take his jumper. He was amazing. He used to get his on Scotty, and Scotty is considered the premier defender in the league at his position, the small forward. Scotty was considered the prototype, and Grant Hill used to rip him to shreds with no jump shot. He used to cross Pip up and slam on him. It was embarrassing, right?
And the reason why he didn't have a jump shot is because he didn't need one.
He didn't need one. No, he didn't need one. I mean, when you look at the size of Grant Hill too, they list him at 6'6". Grant Hill was 6'7", 6'8", bro. Mm-hmm. He was about 6'7", 6'8", because you would see him standing next to Michael, and he was taller than Mike. He's taller than Michael Jordan, so he ain't 6'6". He's definitely 6'7", 6'8". I saw him play once in high school, and I'd never seen somebody play like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was absolutely incredible at South Lakes. So, he gets to Duke, dominates. They win 2 titles there. And as I tell everybody all the time, Duke didn't start winning national championships until Grant Hill got there. That was his freshman year. He was a freshman. So
remember, they got blown out by UNLV without him.
That's because Grant was in high school. That's right. Grant was finishing up at South Lakes. So, the way that these guys, these taller guys, we've talked about 2 mid-sized guys that had injuries. We're talking about the big ones. We're talking about the Yao Mings of the world. Yao Ming, if he had stayed healthy, that dude would have scored so many points. He was amazing. He was an absolutely incredible player. He made the Hall of Fame, NBA Hall of Fame.
But that
was fair. No, he would have made it. Go ahead, Jody. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying that was when he was over in China. That's how he got.
Hall of Fame is basketball Hall of Fame. It's just not.
He deserved it. He absolutely deserved it.
Yeah,
no, he absolutely deserved it. Had he been healthy for his entire NBA career and been able to finish, him and Tracy McGrady in Houston, that was just unfair, man.
Yep.
Just a great 2-man game. And he had Stevie Franchise at one point, him and Steve Francis. That was so much fun to watch. So the NBA has been robbed of a lot of great talent, but before it could really come to fruition. Brandon Roy is another guy who we thought was amazing, and just injuries just sapped the guy's potential. So I don't want to see this happen to Wamba, but I'm just saying, a dude that big, the physics of keeping him healthy. We're seeing similar things with a different body type out in New Orleans, aren't we, Tony? He's hurt again.
Yeah. Hey man, I can't keep talking about Zion, man. I wish. I
love the guy. I want to see him play, but he cannot stay healthy. And they've already maxed him out, Tony. He got the bag, guaranteed.
Let me ask you guys. Both of you guys are from the Maryland, the DC area.
It's
the urban legend that Stevie Franchise only played 2 high school games. Is that true?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember him playing in the high school.
He played at Montgomery Blair. I'll tell you this. You know the reason I know, huh? Then he left. Right. You know why I know this is true, Jody? Because if he had played at Montgomery Blair, I think a high school season here is about 30 games. If he had played for Montgomery Blair, they would have won the state championship at least twice when he was in high school. That's how good that one kid was. He could have won a state championship in the state of Maryland, and I think Blair plays in the 2A. They're not one of the big schools. They're not Springbrook. They're not one of the big high schools. They're big enough, though. He would have been one of the best players in the state. You would have heard more about him. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think he didn't play maybe but 5-6 games high school.
I heard that here in Ohio. That's how good he was. He only played 2 high school games. Was one of the top recruits in the country.
Well, he ended up having to go to junior college.
Hagerstown?
Yeah, yeah. He went to junior
Or
college.
Allegheny, one of them.
Yeah, one of those. He went to junior college, and just kind of disappeared. You know what I'm saying? And there was a couple of guys like that in the DC Metro that kind of were really big high school stars. Who's the guy at Georgetown, Tony? Was it Jerome Williams?
Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, Jerome. Yeah, he was going to go get this, Jody. You're gonna love this story. He was going to go to American University. He was going to play for Chris Naki at American University. 6'4", guard/forward. He doesn't qualify academically, so he has to go to junior college. He goes to junior college and comes out of junior college. He's not 6'4" anymore. He's 6'9". He ends up going to Georgetown and playing with Allen Iverson. So, right. And has a good NBA career. Pretty good NBA career for him.
Pretty good.
Chris Naki talks about it on his radio show sometimes about, he's like, that would have kept me in coaching a little while, because he was thinking about it. No NIL back then. Really, nobody really knew who he was at 6'4". He's like, I would have had a 6'9" forward in the CAA. He's like, I could have won the CAA a couple of times. And get this, guess who else was there? Tim Fudd was there back then. AZ Fudd's father. He was on those Chris Naki teams back then. So now that would have been some craziness. Those two dudes were pretty good. I remember Tim Fudd when he played at college. He's a good ball player.
Hey, folks, make sure you can.
But hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. What do we got next, guys?
Yeah, like I said, it was just amazing how y'all got so much talent. I'm gonna tell you, Dave, we hear this stuff here.
Really? I didn't know you had heard about Stevie in high school. That's really cool, man.
I heard about him. I heard about Kevin Durant. Remember, we didn't have the internet like we have it now. I still heard about Kevin Durant back when he was in high school. You know what I'm saying? Guys like that. I played basketball and I played in college, and we had a tournament, a summer tournament, and I went to Richmond. I was able to meet Lynn Bias's mom. She actually was a guest at one of the in Richmond, Virginia. Okay. So I found out a lot of players and that reason for about 90 to about 98. Y'all had some of the best quarterbacks and some of the best basketball players that came out of like Newport News with Allen Iverson, Aaron Brooks, Vic, Marcus Vick. You had Ronald Curry. People don't know about Curry. Curry was the top quarterback and the top basketball player in the country. Same way Allen Iverson, a guy that didn't even play his senior year because he was in jail because of that bull crap that happened with him. He was a top football player. So when you look at the Virginia, the Maryland, the DC area, y'all have so much. Trust me, before the internet, we heard about you guys, man, for sure.
Look, if you're not recruiting in basketball and football, if you're not recruiting from how far down, Tony? About Bayside High School? Down that far? Oscar Smith. If you're not recruiting Oscar Smith, Bayside, Kecoughtan, and then you come all the way up here to the DC metro area, some of those Virginia high schools, the public schools down there, the big ones, like Stonewall and all that, got some ball players. Jonathan Allen came out of there. You know what I'm saying? You get some players. The fact that you have the Alabamas of the world that come up here to recruit, Wisconsin recruits here. Now, Wisconsin is a program that has spent its entire existence only recruiting from the Midwest. That's literally where they recruit from. Michigan, same thing. Michigan comes here to get players.
Yeah.
Tom Izzo comes here to get players. Tom Izzo, who can go to Flint and get whoever he wants, but he can't do it every year, so he's got to get the kids from somewhere. Jay Wright at Villanova. The joke was that Jay Wright spent so much time in the DC metro area that he had mambo sauce on his suit. That joker lived in DC, bro. Literally. We was calling that fool Mo. What's up, Mo? he practically lived here, but he understood. He was coaching at, and Ed Cooley, are you listening? He was coaching at a small little Catholic school that liked to play basketball, and he knew, I can't win in this league unless I get good players out of the DC metro area, out of that Catholic league. And that's where he did all of his work, was right here in the WCAC. So if I were Ed Cooley, I'm at Georgetown now, and you see what's revolving around you, University of Maryland has just hired DeMatha's former high school coach to be an assistant. They already have a St. John's graduate that's an assistant now, Dave Cox. American University just hired a former DeMatha star that played at University of Maryland. What does that tell you? DC area recruiting is about to get nasty. It's going to get really nasty because now these young guys that are getting their first jobs as head coaches, looking to move up as assistants. Tony Skinn is now the coach at George Mason. He went to Tacoma Academy, right over here in Tacoma. So all these guys are going to be at all these camps, Tony, all year.
And Jody, what is my response to all that, Jody?
NIL, send me that money.
They better have an NIL, or else in 2 years we're gonna be talking about every last one of them getting
transferring out. Yep,
and transferring out. No NIL equals NIT.
Right. You know what? It's another guy that's from y'all area that was everybody knew up in this area. His name was DeMar Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knew DeMar Johnson because he ended up going to UC. Hey. UC, University of Cincinnati up here. Everybody knew about that kid.
That guy he should have been even better than he was. I'll say that.
He got in a car wreck. He got in a car wreck.
He was bad. He should have been even better than he was, dude.
He was one of the best players to ever come out of here.
Your boy Darnell Valentine's father played at DeMatha.
Oh yeah?
He did.
I heard about, see, when I say I'm not, I just met y'all a year ago, and it's like y'all like family now. When I say this is before the internet, we knew about you guys, y'all ball players. No joke, man. This I'm not just saying this on the show. We knew about DeMar Johnson when he was a freshman.
Oh, he was amazing.
You know, these guys that come out of here, guys like Randolph Childress and dudes like that, what really started happening was a lot of I call them the basketball academies started to sprout up in the 90s. And a lot of kids got siphoned off, right? And would end up somewhere like a Flint Hill or Prospect Hall, or these basketball factories. Nothing wrong with that. But what's happened is it did kind of take away from the local nature of these teams, where Gonzaga is playing every year. They're going to play St. John's. They're going to play over at the St. John's Arena. It's going to be a great game. Or DeMatha is going to play. The other problem that I do have, and Tony and I talk about this all the time, you're never going to see DeMatha play against Parkdale. You're just not going to see that as a regular type of game. So these kids get taken out of their neighborhood, but they don't get to play against the neighborhood school. Oh. So you never get to really find out how good you are. But a lot of that is these high school coaches are trying to keep their little fiefdom together. They're trying to keep all their people in line. And for example, I know for a fact that there are certain high schools that won't play other private high schools, because when they play that certain school, their kids start trying to transfer away to go to that other school. Okay. So there's all this stuff about Tony's shaking his head because he's in the business. You understand how that all works. See, in football, it doesn't always work that way because there's so many kids. But in basketball, Tony, you lose that one guy, that one special guy. It could take you from, we were going to win the state championship this year, to where we're going to be struggling just to make regionals.
Yep.
Hey guys,
make sure we got the first pick. The first pick was the girl from South Carolina,
Leah Boston.
So check out. Hey folks, we're gonna be back probably on Monday. So, but we're trying to get everything up so we can get Jody's articles up. Jody, let's talk. So we can get Jody's articles up, and so we can get you into this NFL draft. So we can start talking about that. He has a good piece about the HBCUs, all the way to breaking down each of the positions.
Hey, and we can get my HBCU guy. We'll get Scotty on. We'll get our boy Scotty on. Talking
Jody, what's up?
No, I said I'm listening to Dave. I love HBCU guys. I'm one myself, so I love HBCU. You know what I mean?
I'll get with Scotty tonight. We'll get Scotty on for next week.
Perfect.
All right, fellas.
Actually, send me your article first so I can get it over to him so he can read it and he can be up on it, and then that way we could just hit you both with it, and me and Tony can just sit back and just love it, man, because that's what we do, man. Talking sports.
No doubt.
All right, brother.
TD Report, another edition in the books. Thanks to Tony. Thanks to Jody. Appreciate y'all.
All right, folks.
Hey, love y'all, man. Be safe.
Love you
too. Take care,
Jody. I hit you. What time you off work, Jody? All right, folks, catch us at the tdreport.com. Please check us out. You can go to the Facebook page and you'll see our website. We have articles, tdreport.com. Thank you.